everybody, this is Alora Bago at OG Star Wars, and today we are going to debunk the rhetoric or narrative of Star Wars is only for kids. Now let's break this down. Now that we are coming upon episode 9 and other projects coming out from Disney, Lucasfilm, Star Wars, and expressing feelings about or disregards about the direction Disney is taking Star Wars, many fans of Star Wars through Disney come at, post, or say basically that Star Wars is for kids, that George said it himself, Star Wars is for kids. So let's break this down. What does this mean, Star Wars is for kids? And also, George, and this is not against George Lucas himself, because I'm a big fan of him. That's why I love Star Wars. He was the one that brought us Star Wars. So yes, he is basically, he has a lot of respect from me, even with the changes he did in the OT. When you look at that, that's just to make continuity between the OT and the PT a little bit more coherent and tying them together. And even some small changes like how Jabba looks and Han not shooting first, that is a creative decision by the creator himself. And that never change, that doesn't change the narrative, but we will not talk about that today. So basically, George says things. He may state one thing, and then he may go back and counter his last statement, and vice versa. So, they say Star Wars is for kids. So, let's break this down. When you take a look at all the movie ratings, beginning with the first Star Wars, now called A New Hope, they were rated PG, and the very last movie to air, which is Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, was PG-13. Yet they say Star Wars is for kids. So let's break this down. What does these ratings mean when it comes to what George says, what people, the narrative of that quote, he says, what does that mean when it comes to rating? And then we'll also go back and look at another statement he said as well to counter that narrative being used, okay? So the movie ratings, we have G, which is general audience, all ages admitted. Nothing that would offend parents or viewing by children. Okay, so why isn't George's movies rated G if they are only for kids? Okay, PG, parental guidance suggested some material may not be suitable for children. Parents urged to give parental guidance may contain some material parents might not like for their young children. Very interesting. Okay, now let's go to PG-13. PG-13 parents strongly cautioned. Cautioned. All right. Under 17 required accompanying parent or adult guardian. Contains some adult material. Parents are urged to learn more about the film before taking their young children with them. That is very, very interesting. Now, again, this is not against George himself or what he said, because we all know that he says one thing and then goes back and says another. This is against the narrative that people use against people like me and other people who may express that they don't like the direction Star Wars is going. That is something they use as evidence to try to quiet what we have to say, okay? And when you take a look at all the past airings of the movies, beginning with Star Wars or A New Hope, the lines are significantly long. When you analyze those pictures, you see nothing but adults. Our majority are adults, okay? So apparently they did not get the memo from George or from anyone else that it's for kids. And to break it down even further, now I am as old as the first Star Wars. Yes, I'm sharing my age. That's okay. I'm not ashamed. And when I got a chance to view, my very first movie was Empire Strikes Back. Well, actually, no, it was Star Wars at home. We watched it on VHS, which means my grandmother, my aunties, all the adults in my family that lived under one roof with us, they watched Star Wars first. They bought the movie and we got to watch it at home. So we got to watch it at home, and then we went to the drive-in theater to watch Empire Strike Back, and that's when we had the golden age of drive-in theaters, which was amazing. And then after that, Return of the Jedi, we got to go into the theater. And so again, that shares that the supporting audience is adults. Yes, I understand adults have to purchase tickets for their kids. However, when you look at the lines for the movies that are documented online, it's mainly adults. Okay. So, and then there's this image that I'm sharing here. And at the very bottom, if you read through it, it explains a lot. But when you read the very bottom, basically George says that Star Wars is for everybody, basically saying that it is made for us to feel as kids, like kid at heart, for the kid at heart, or to feel like children again. And that's the wonderment of Star Wars. It is a movie based on myths of the hero's journey, or mythological aspects that any race or society or culture can relate to. And so it's so sophisticated in that sense that adults can understand that hero's journey. Now, as for children, they just understand that it's an action-packed movie with fantasy and wonderment. So basically, that shows it is for all kids. Now let's go back to the Star Wars Celebration 2017, that video. They use that quote, Star Wars is for kids, from him when he was being interviewed. George was being interviewed. Now, in that interview, if you listen to it, he also says that he intended it to be for kids, but it didn't turn out that way. So then it goes back to that that little excerpt of his quote shared here that basically says that it's for everyone, that it's for everybody, for the kid at heart. So when we see people using that narrative, oh, it's for kids, now just be quiet because you have no reason to talk about it. That's just their tactic on trying to quiet those of us, or those who may not like one movie or may not like the direction Star Wars is going under the new ownership, whatever it may be. That's just their way of trying to silence the general audience. But when you look at the bigger picture and you research all his quotes, you will see that, yes, he wanted to appease his own self as a child with these fantasy space movies, the space opera, and again, opera. Okay. And for his child at heart, for him, how it made him feel when he was younger. But he also was so sophisticated to add the hero's journey and mythology that maybe a young child might not fully understand that approach, but they do understand the adventure. And so it is for everybody of all ages. And I hope that no matter which way you go, if you love George Lucas era of Star Wars movies and into the EU games, whatever, that you continue to love them, to continue to show them to your children, to share it, pass it on, pass on these beautiful books to your children. And if you are into both timelines, George's and Disney's new timeline, enjoy it. And if you're only now just a fan of Disney, and that's fine. I'm not here to tell anybody to like one over the other. I am just trying to share, or not trying, I am debunking this rhetoric that people use against people who may share what they don't like about the current Disney Star Wars. And it's okay that we feel this way. And it's okay that the other people like it. So I'm going to leave this with you. Again, love your Star Wars. Do your research. And know that actions speak louder than words. The action of George reflected in his company and his employees. And he may say one thing and he also contradicts what he had said previously. So take it with a grain of salt and know that Star Wars is for everybody, and enjoy it. May the Force be with you.